Traders, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to today's markets. I want to take a quick look here at some of our pairs. This is the yen. This is all of our yen crosses. I want to show you guys what we're looking like on the yen right now. I'll go over real quick also what we got lined up for this week. But this is our yen index, so you guys can see that over the past few weeks we have been selling off, and we have just really had a pretty decent size correction back up into structure here, right? So here's our yen index. Is that massive strange spike that happened because of that Apple data that came out in late December. And again, we've slowly pulled back after that massive run up. This was a lot of stuff in regards to trade war that blew us to the upside. So right now, we have pulled back just a bit. We sat back down on a pretty not really identifiable structure. We just turned around inside of the consolidation. It might have been the mid of the consolidation. Let's see real quick if we drove from the low to the high. It was a 61.8 from the low to the high of the consolidation if you don't account for this massive spike here. If you do account for the massive spike, then of course, we're back down at that 78.2. So I would like to keep a track of what we're looking at right here in regards to this overall structure. If I pull over and show you guys what we're looking like on the daily time frame, you will see it's decently identifiable, but again, you don't really see too much structure in terms of where this market turned around, and really just turned around at the insides of this consolidation. So right now, we're just seeing a lot of yen strength coming on in because we're getting a little bit more fears in regards to what's happening with the trade war. There has been a halt in conversations in regards to trade, and that's obviously not too good. Now Brexit, of course, has really been stagnant. If I pull over and show you guys pound, I'll bring up Brexit again because that affects our yen as well. You guys can see that we did have a pretty decent sized sell-off on last Friday, but subsequently we have slowed down a bit, and that's just that pales in comparison to the massive run up that we did see in markets. But again, we could see this thing go absolutely parabolic once that data eventually comes out, and of course they pushed the vote back, and we just got to get a few more details as to how that's all going to go about. When it comes to the dollars, now take a look here at the Euro USD. This was something that was pretty interesting. I was kind of excited to look at just because it's finally something new happening in markets. Well, we got the Euro USD here at the lowest level in the year and a half, right? So we haven't been back down towards that level since 2017. What's that? Around July. Okay, so we did hit back on the $11s. If I pull over here into the daily, you guys can see we hit back on the level 1170s, and now we're back inside of these $12 mids here. But we were really waiting and anticipating for this market to break to the upside, but guess what happened? Euro gave us no reason to buy. Week after week, month after month, look how long people have been waiting to buy that euro. Euro gave us absolutely no reason to buy. And if you even look over at our euro index, what do you guys see? Euro at its lowest levels, right, since let's see, since maybe around that same time last year, 2017. So you really can't see the euro all over this Euro USD in regards to it finally breaking a little bit lower here. All right, and so if you look at the dollar as well real quick, you guys will notice that the dollar is hitting right back up in the highs of its range, right? So the 2018 range, Q4 range for the dollar market is back up in those highs, and that's our dollar index. And if you look at this dollar index, you have the dollar almost breaking its all-time highs for the dollar index for 2018 for the dollar index. Here, the standard one that everyone looks at, but we don't like that one. We like to keep an eye on the one that we have custom built because it's more conducive to trading. All right, it weighs all the currencies the same, so we can see how the dollar has done relative to all the other currencies, not just the dollar versus the euro versus a few other pairs, because we know that euro on the regular dollar index is weighted 53% on average across the board. So we like to keep a look at this one, which weighs all of our currencies the exact same. So that's what we're looking like here for the dollar. We're still inside of these consolidations. I do have some ideas as to where we could see this dollar go. We have some data that's coming out this week, retail sales, CPI, and PPI. Obviously, you guys are in the program. You guys have seen what all those data releases mean, but this is just going to be important for us to have a very solid understanding when it comes to the overall performance of the dollar for 2019, right? Last week we had the unemployment rate hit off on 4.8%. We had 20,000 jobs added, but at the end of the day, the labor market tightened again. People weren't really, I guess, expecting that so much. Here, I'll pull over so you guys can take a look at it. Unemployment rate 3.8%. Sorry, I said 4.8%. 3.8%. That's ticked down from what people again were expecting. So I'm pretty excited to see exactly what ends up happening in regards to this economy and really this currency here. So that's why you did see a little bit of a push back up into structure. Of course, a few more things that probably accelerated this dollar. Now, for me, I think by the end of this week, I'm not sure where we're going to be to the upside. All right, but I am somewhat anticipating that we are going to be a little bit volatile based off of these data releases, but for some reason, I have a feeling that we may retest back down on the structure before this market goes any higher, just because we had such a massive push to the upside, right? So if this dollar is about to break all-time highs because of all this performance that's just happening, then yeah, I feel like we'll push back down in the structure a bit before that ends up happening, right? So this is the kind of situation I'm looking out for. Dollar weakness, basically, across some of our pairs. So that would mean for us, if we're taking a look at the Euro USD, then maybe we can start looking for some Euro USD's buys back up into structure here, right? So maybe a break of the $1.25, $12.50s. Man, I'm off today. $12.50s, and then a push back up inside of that consolidation if we get that dollar weakness, right? If we get that dollar weakness that I'm anticipating to see on our currency pairs there. So let's keep a look at that here. I want to talk about the pound as well. Here's our pound. Again, pound did have a pretty massive sell side on Friday, and that sell side came in many different reasons. Obviously, certain things dealing with Brexit, which is why I think that this Japanese yen is also trading back to the upside in some context. I think that Brexit information is really getting people to be a little bit more vivaciously wanting to buy the currency. CHF as well. CHF is usually should start turning around a bit if markets become a little bit more risky. But we'll keep an eye on it. We've been waiting for markets to break outside of this lower consolidation here. All right, we've been waiting for markets to break outside of that since literally this level right here. We were hoping we get a bigger run than this, but then we just ended up turning around, and now we've created a larger range. All right, and we know that markets can create these larger ranges, and they don't like those tight ranges. You're usually going to get a break out of those tight ranges, but just because you got the break out of the tight range doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have that momentous run you're looking for to the next target, and our target was somewhere up here in this price area. So Swiss and the Japanese yen, again, we are anticipating these to turn around eventually. The yen is already kind of making its move. So it's really the Swiss right now where we're looking to have this thing consolidate within that structure here. And then again, when it comes to pound, I would love to hear a little bit more about what you guys are looking at. But for us, we really want to see more developments when it comes to Brexit. All right, more developments when it comes to Brexit. The vote was supposed to be March 2nd. They pushed it back, and that is obviously going to add a few extra variables that I think is honestly going to be a little bit more positive for the pound. The more time they have to figure out a deal, the more likely a deal happens, right? So the fact that they can move the goalpost, hey, that's absolutely perfect, right? That's absolutely perfect. That's what we want to see. Now Canada was very, very highly correlated at one point with the oil numbers here. Let's pull up oil. Let's see if there's still a slight correlation happening. /CL here in Thinkorswim. So here's the daily for Canada for oil. We can see markets turn around, push back up in the structure, and we've slowly been making higher highs, and right now we're consolidated, holding the high. But if you notice here, it does look like that the in sync motions that was happening with the Canadian dollar is somewhat going away. So this pull back down in the structure, we know that obviously has something to do with Canada, not oil prices. So that might be some Canadian economy stuff and bad reporting that came in. So again, we'll keep an eye on stuff like that. Let's see last week did Canada have any data that came out. So they had a building permits number come out, and here it is. So they had a overnight rate come out, which is their interest rate statements. Trade balances were a little bit more negative. So Canada did have some data that came out last week that may have sparked some of that sell side Pretty interesting stuff here. So we'll keep an eye on all these markets, folks. We don't have any real critical trades that we're looking at the moment. I do want to see potentially the dollar sell off just a bit, but I hate that there's not an amazing opportunity for you guys today. But that's okay. Sit on your hands. All right, we'll see what is going to happen. And obviously, if you guys got any questions, let me know. Peace.